For today's Inspired House, we're going to be expanding the four walls of your office as we go international to talk with coach and content media strategist Abby McPherson. Known online by her handle Abby Teaching from Afar, Abby has successfully launched and grown her media strategy company out of Abu Dhabi. And she's here to tell us about her journey and the impact moving out of the United States has had on her and her business.
So when you operate from a place of desperation, you're already in danger. If you have to make money and you have to kind of lean to the left or to the right or turn your eye to some certain things, then you already need to kind of reevaluate what you are doing and why you're in that particular position. If you are not charging according to what you're supposed to be earning, you wouldn't be in this situation in the first place. So maybe you're undercharging, or maybe you need to look at your actual finances and reduce your expenses, because maybe if you need like $4,000 and $5,000 a month and you're single and you have no household, but you drive a Mercedes Benz, you live in a penthouse, this is all your fault. You need to downsize. What I need to do is network more because there are opportunities out there. And then I feel like I don't have to fight as much for the opportunities because I am here. In the States, like, you have to fight through so many different things. But here I can be on the elevator and run into somebody who's like the president of a company. So you just have to know what you offer and what you do, and just your work ethic will take you where you need to be. So how I figured out that I was building upon a valuable asset that I had myself, or that I was onto something, was when I started to get into it.
Welcome home, family. You are in the Inspired House, and today, y'all, we're going to be in the office. You already know. Going to focus on building that career, building kind of that long-term plan on what you want to do professionally. And y'all, we have somebody really special. As you know, I've been trying to really pursue professional development opportunities and things like that. And in the process of that, I've been able to really build community and find some dope people who are doing some dope things. So I would love to introduce to some and to present to others, Abby. Abby, how you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing really, really well. Now, I have to ask you because I purposely didn't say the last name because I wanted to make sure I was right. Is it Abby Afar?
So that is my personal brand. My last name is McPherson.
Abby McPherson. That's a fact. Okay. I remember. I remember now. I remember. Okay. So why the actually I'll wait. I'll wait.
Okay.
Let the people know who you are and just all the dope things that you do.
Awesome. What's going on, everybody? My name is Abby McPherson, but I go by Abby Teaching Afar. Reason being is that 6 years ago, almost 7 years ago now, I moved to the UAE to pursue an international teaching career. So in a very brief kind of situation, I was a formal traditional educator for physical education. And then about 3 years into my international career, I decided that I wanted to pursue creating full time and being creative full time. So I got a freelance license, and I have been living. I lived in Dubai when I was teaching, and now I live in Abu Dhabi for the past 3 years, creating content full time. So I know there's a lot more for us to unpack, but that's where I am present day, full time creator living in the UAE.
Wow. So first off, thank you so much for joining. And so the name Abby Teaching Afar is coming from the fact that you're in the UAE. And like what spurred the move, I guess, to go, and I get the PE thing, but
Mhm.
why did you stay?
All right. So even to start, I knew my journey going abroad was, I wanted to document it in some way. So I've always been pretty techie when it came down to it. And then when I learned that I received the job to go and teach abroad, Abby Teaching Abroad was already taken. So I was just like, what's another word that means distance? And then you mentioned alliteration a little bit earlier. So I was like, oh, afar. Afar sounds good. Abby Teaching Afar. And so when I had the opportunity to go and teach afar, but even though I decided to leave traditional education, I knew I still wanted to teach people. I knew I wanted to teach education. I knew I wanted to teach people how to create content, how to repurpose content, things of that nature. The reason why I ended up staying is because not many people know. A lot of people just come to the UAE or Dubai or whatever for vacation, to have fun, to be in the Middle East, to have a fancy experience. But it actually is very, very safe over here. And I have never felt safer as a single black woman like anywhere else in the world. And so I wasn't willing to give that up. And the country is a wonderful country, and it's given a lot of different freelancers opportunities to be able to, get their visa, get a business license, and permission to stay and remain in the country as long as they're, contributing. So what I have is called a freelance visa, and it has given me a number of years to be able to remain in the country to run my business from right here, going back to the United States, especially with everything that's been going on. So I've lived abroad pretty much all of my 30s. I came here when I was 30, and now I'm 36. So I've lived here this whole time, and from 2018 to now 2024, I've seen, race riots. We've gone through COVID. We've gone through all types of things. And being from, the outside looking in, I'm like, I can't, or I don't want to, or I choose not to return to a place where it's just too much unknown, where I've
Mm,
had a tremendous amount of stability and flexibility here in this country without the hassles of, let's say, racism or explicit sexism or things of that nature, as well as like regular fear for your life, if you will. So that's one of the main reasons why I remain in this country, is because the safety.
wow. I would have never. I guess because I wouldn't know. But yeah, when you hear stuff like Middle East, you hear like Dubai or places like Abu Dhabi, you don't really think of the word safety. But I guess this isn't the first time I heard of this, because I think there's a couple creators who do like real estate that are out in that area, and they're in, black women who seem to be thriving. So I guess that's really interesting. So how is it then economically, in terms of having your business, how has that been faring for you being over there? Is
Well,
it
one of
over
the
there, up there, down there?
around there, over is fine.
Around there.
You know,
There. Where you are.
well, so I would say economically it's worked out great for me. So when I was a teacher, my job or the place of employment paid for my housing, right? So I lived rent free, tax free. My paycheck was my paycheck. It said, my name, and it said money. It didn't say FICA. It didn't say, health care. Nothing else came out of my check, but and it was all mine. So I had a great opportunity to be able to, get rid of my consumer debt at the time. I had my bills paid. I lived directly across the street from my school, so I would walk. So I didn't necessarily need transportation, things of that nature. So it was a great opportunity for me to be able to kind of set things in stone and fix things back at home, without having to spare a ton of expenses. So now I have another situation to where it's just amazing for me to people. Okay, so when people are like, oh, it's expensive to live over there, that's because they only vacation over here and they spend all their money because they came on vacation. So yes, vacationing here can be expensive depending on what you choose to do. Living here and the
Mm.
type of lifestyle that you choose to have, I am pretty much an introvert, so I'm in the house a lot. So my expenses are lower than somebody who goes to party or go to brunch every week or shops at the mall. So I would say economically, I'm doing very well. And then also I have the opportunity to, being American, I have clients that are still in the U.S. So there's opportunities I have to continue to be paid in USD, as well as different opportunities that I have to take here, in country.
Wow. So that is amazing. So then I guess I got to follow up then. So you mentioned how there's not like you're not really dealing with like the issues of like racism and stuff that we kind of deal with in America. How are the people of Abu Dhabi in terms of providing business? Have you had any issues with like getting business and stuff because you're not necessarily from there, or what's that been like for you?
I would say one of the things that I've been working on lately is more networking opportunities. But honestly, the UAE is a true melting pot. You can run into people from anywhere at any place, which is a point that I'm happy you brought up again. I find that I can probably get better opportunities here, because I can run into people. I feel like the degrees of separation are less here, because it's because of the safety and the accessibility. So, for instance, I went to a event maybe a year and a half ago now. It's called, I think, the Cultural Summit or something of that effect. They literally brought in people from all over the world, all these leaders and decision makers and everything, to come and do a summit, to have talks and all of these things like that. So I was able to just literally walk around, and I had to look at the program like, this person's who? Literally like the people who run the Grammys, like Rico Love, who's wrote so many tremendous like musical hits, musical geniuses. But the person who runs like the Gooba Awards in Ghana, there was presidents of different like countries that were there. Trevor Noah
Wow.
was there. Steve Harvey was there. You know what I'm saying? So there was a number of different people who can just come here and have their ideas and put things on the table. And this is a country that is really beefing up their arts opportunities and the exposure that they have, not only for the country but then also for like their youth and other people. So I say all of that to say, what I need to do is network more because there are opportunities out there. And then I feel like I don't have to fight as much for the opportunities because I am here in the States. Like, you have to fight through so many different things. But here I can be on the elevator and run into somebody who's like the president of a company. So you just have to know what you offer and what you do, and just your work ethic will take you where you need to be.
That is amazing. So okay. So then what I'm hearing then is that there's a lot of rich opportunity, and you're basically saying you have less barriers to deal with, less hurdles to jump. And so you can put more of that effort into the actual quality of your work.
Hmm.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
amazing.
great opportunity. So I've done work for New York University of Abu Dhabi out here. A lot of things out here is word of mouth. So you do one thing, you do a good job, and then you get referred to do other things, and then this person refers you to that person, and so I've met a couple of different, very influential individuals out here. So as long as you stay true to your morals and values, the opportunities will continue to come, whether you're looking for them or not.
Oh, that's so good. Okay. So then when I think that's really important, you mentioned about the importance of staying true to your morals and values.
Mhm.
So what have you run up against in terms of where you might have had like that offer, or maybe like, hey, we want to network with you or work with you, but it's like, we might need you to do this or that you kind of felt conflicted with your morals and values.
So that is a great question to ask because, so I'll say I'm Seventh Day Adventist Christian. Pretty much the long and short of it is that I go to church on Saturday. And I've had opportunities to be able to do certain things on Saturdays. And growing up, my family was pretty strict on, keeping the Sabbath hours, which is Friday sunset to Saturday sunset.
Hmm.
And throughout that time period, my undergrad is actually in sports, entertainment, and event management. And for that particular, time period in my life, was like, I don't even think I can do this degree because literally the sport and entertainment industry thrives off that 24-hour period. I don't know what job would say, oh, yeah, you don't have to work Friday night or Saturday. Like, you're fine. So it's taken me a long time to get to a place where I'm comfortable, either accepting or declining certain things. So, for instance, right, this particular Saturday, I'm going to be documenting a triathlon for the university. So they're going to have groups of people that are going to go and challenge themselves physically. Um, One of my reasoning, if you will, is that I'm documenting a process, telling a story about an event that is testing people's physical abilities and health. On the other hand, if I was offered a opportunity to go, well, I hate yacht parties. Let me just say that. But if somebody was like, "Oh, can you come and film or record a birthday party on a yacht?" I would say no to that. So now I'm looking at, in a sense, of what I want to be a part of versus things that I'm not really down for. So the yacht party is probably going to be drinking, you know what I'm saying? There's probably going to be interesting music and behaviors that are taking place that I don't really associate myself with. Whereas on
Hmm.
the other hand, things that I'm doing to uplift people and be able to kind of tell like a great story and encourage folks, I'm
Yeah.
more apt to be able to participate in that. So now I'm weighing out the things that I do get, and then another thing is, so we're just like, oh, I won't be getting paid on the day is something that we're saying, like, buying and selling on the
Mm,
Sabbath. We don't particularly do that. So I'm just like, it's
yeah.
an invoice. It'll come later.
Oh, there we go. So how has that? So how is the response when you say like no's? Do you get a lot of pushback or?
What I've learned in business is that you don't have to give a reason, right? Or the way that you say things, or the way that you stand up for yourself or advocate for yourself. It's literally like, I'm not available, or I'm at capacity, or here's my calendar. If you can't find anything that works, like, I'm I'm also very intentional about when I choose to apologize, because some things I'm not sorry for. I'm not sorry that I'm not available to help you. It's just like, the date is not unavailable. Hopefully we can work together in the future. So I have gotten a lot better when I am turning down things, or when I am saying no. And there's no shifting. It's a decision that I have to make. I don't want everybody's money. I don't want to capture everybody's events. There's certain things that I'm saying yes to, and things that I can decline. But I feel maybe what you're asking me is that how I deliver the no or the declining of the event mostly is because it will be something like, sorry, I'm unavailable, or not sorry, I'm unavailable.
Yeah, but that's I like what you said though, because you said I'm in a space where I'm realizing I don't need everybody's money.
Mm-mm.
And I think sometimes we forget that the money you get is tied to someone or something, right?
And
I think, go ahead.
when you think about it, when it comes to money as well, and the jobs that you, it also aligns with people's value or their perception of how they value themselves. When I decide to decline something, it may be for various reasons, but sometimes the amount of money, if it's not really going to do anything for me per se, I can say no, and I can take care of myself, which I've been trying to do a lot more as well. So I'm at the point where there's some things that if I don't want to do it, and it's not amount of money that's going to put a dent in something else I'm trying to take care of financially, then I don't want to do it. And that's okay. I'd rather be at home and get some rest, or cook some food or something like that. But I don't want anybody to think that their $200 is changing my life. I don't need your $200. and and if it's something that I want to do, I probably don't even care if you paid me or not, if it's something that I want to do. But for me,
Mm,
if it's not something that is going to really put me in a good position to achieve the next milestone that I have, and it's also something that I don't want to do, I won't.
wow. So I love that. And I guess my follow up question is, how does someone who is starting out in their career or maybe even starting out in their entrepreneurial space, how do they get to that place of saying no
Mhm.
to opportunities? Because I 100% agree with the values, and it's like if it doesn't line up with your values and stuff, you say no. But then what do you do when it's like I say no to this opportunity that doesn't line up with my values or my business, and now it's like, dang, but now I got this bill coming up and I got to figure out other options. How have you navigated stuff like that?
So when you operate from a place of desperation, you're already in danger. If you have to make money, and you have to kind of lean to the left or to the right, or turn your eye to some certain things, then you already need to kind of reevaluate what you are doing and why you're in that particular position. Thankfully, I haven't had to be at a place where I have to literally think about turning a blind eye to something because I'm in desperate need of money. So my first thing was, don't ever be desperate for money. So if you are an entrepreneur, you're looking to start something, you need to put things in position to where financially you at least give yourself a little bit of leeway so you don't have to compromise. Right. And so
Mm,
I just got a new business coach, and he's definitely helped me understand my finances a little bit better. So I'm saying this as I'm learning it. Right. So I've been truly blessed in my journey to where I haven't had to do that just naturally. But now I can strategically say to somebody that, get you understand your finances from the beginning. so that you know what your personal self needs and what your business self needs. And you can, pay yourself from the business, right? But you need to allocate each particular line item so you know how much business you need to have and how much money your business needs to make to be able to handle your household needs. So as that's being done, you also need to be building an emergency fund of, at the moment, he's wanting me to get to about 2 to 3 months of expenses saved up, that in the event that anything goes awry or I don't make as much money as I need to, I can still handle my finances without the need to compromise and take on work that I don't want to or that I don't need to take. So, long story short, if you're at a place of desperation, you need to really look at making sure that you have the financial backing that you can have to buy yourself a couple months so that you don't have to say yes to certain things that you have no business doing.
Mm, I love that. What I'm hearing is inspire a family, have a business plan, bounce that business plan off of somebody, figure out the numbers and the structure, and then you can then strategically say no instead of just kind of saying no and hoping it works out.
Because the other thing is, it might be a situation to where you can say no a lot often if you were actually charging your worth. So if you are not charging according to what you're supposed to be earning, you wouldn't be in the situation in the first place. So maybe you're undercharging, or maybe you need to look at your actual finances and reduce your expenses, because maybe if you need like $4,000 and $5,000 a month and you're single and you have no household, but you drive a Mercedes Benz, you live in a penthouse, this is all your fault. You need to downsize, right? Why do you need that much money, right? So you either need to literally look at your finances and be like, okay, clearly I don't need Netflix. I don't need Amazon. I don't need to order DoorDash so much. I need to lower my expenses to be able to afford my personal expenses so my business doesn't have to make $10,000 a month. It's great if it does. But if you're making $10,000 a month in your business, but you're spending $8,000 in personal expenses and it costs $3,000 to run your business, you're in a hole. So becoming a little bit more cognizant, not a little bit, becoming more cognizant of what's going on in your finances will help you make informed decisions. And if you need to take that particular project, make it worth your while. Things that I do not want to do, but I need the money, 1000%, they're going to pay me what I want. I'm going to add some tax on there and a little bit of an inconvenience fee because I don't want to be here anyway.
Wow, I love that. So that's good. That's good. That is a good game. That is a good game. I
I'm about to say,
think what's
let
really
me just do a little precursor. I still show up with my best attitude, even though I know I don't want to do it. I don't bring that attitude on the job. I do the best of my abilities, but I'm going to charge accordingly because I know that is something that it's not my preference.
I appreciate that. Is charging what you charge and maybe upping that price a little bit, does that help with coming in with a good attitude, you feel?
100%. Because if it's something that you want to say no to, and it's not against your morals and values, things of that nature, it's just something that you don't necessarily want to, but people are still referring you for certain things, and I'll address that in a moment too. When you charge more, you're not as upset, right? So if you say, "Hey, Abby, can I really want to work with just you because of X, Y, and Z," and I'm like, "Ugh, all right, well, such and such referred me. Let me do this person a solid." But it's like the solid is the fact that I'm going to do it, but I might charge you a certain amount that maybe I've never charged before to try to discourage you. But I don't know how deep your pockets run. And if I add a certain tax on there, and you're like, okay, great. And I'm like, what? Well, at least I'm getting paid a
Yeah.
good amount. Like imagine, like I'd be more upset if I just lowballed myself. And honestly, like, and it's not necessarily a scheme. I don't want anybody to take this wrong, but there are certain people that will pay whatever you ask for just to work with you.
Yeah.
And you have to take value into that yourself because what I said I was going to get back to is a lot of times when there are opportunities that come our way that we don't want to do, it's because our message is not as strong as we would want it to be. You've allowed your audience or your friends or your family to continue to share a narrative that is not what you want to do. So I say, be careful what you allow people to say that you do. So I'm intentional when people ask, what do you do? I try my best to lean towards the digital media strategist side because it opens me up to be able to do different things within digital media rather than being like, oh yeah, Abby's a photographer. I'm like, ugh, no. Because then what do I get? Yacht parties, birthday parties, those inquiries. Or Abby's a
Mhm.
videographer, same situation. When I really like to dig deeper into strategy and helping people put together entire particular projects or things that they want to, build upon to be a part of the
Mm.
process and the journey. I'm more project based than I am saying, yeah, I'm coming to Dubai. Can you, follow me around for a day type deal. So you have to be very mindful on what you allow people to say that you do because that's what's going to keep coming to you. And then until you kind of either charge a premium price or just turn it down altogether, you got to weigh the differences.
Wow. I appreciate the value, but I also appreciate the integrity of you have this kind of clearly thought out of why you say what you say, why you charge what you charge. And it's not just as much of you're saying no to this as much as you're trying to leave your opportunities open to say yes to that. And I think that is so good instead of just, yeah, I'm just going to say no to the photography thing only because I don't feel like doing it. It's like, well, no, I hear the logic of I'm focusing more on this part of the business,
Mhm.
the digital strategy part of the business. And so I want to say yes to this. And to say yes to this, that means I have to say no to that. And if I do say yes to that, it's not going to come cheap. And I think that that's awesome. And I think that also shows that you know what your stuff is worth, right? And I think there's a side discussion for another time of knowing what the value you bring is worth,
Mhm.
because there are folk who will say no and yes to stuff, but the value that they're given isn't all that great. And so for those who are listening, I hope that you really understand, which makes me want to pivot to this question. When did you actually hold up? When did you discover and how did you figure out the value of what you have to offer? When did you realize or when did you kind of see like, oh, this is valuable. I got something.
I would say when I started to get into community, that was a big push for me. Now about probably 2.5 years ago, because I think a lot of creators and entrepreneurs, we are looking for validation, which is why we're in business. We want to be able to barter the things that we put together, the products and services, and things that we want to offer other people. And so that's nothing but literally affirmation for the things that people want to purchase from you that you say that you have. Getting in community helped me validate the skills that I had and the abilities that I had to offer. One of the communities that I was in was deeper in the brand, just learning more about personal branding and things of that nature, and being in that community helped validate my creative abilities, right? So there
Mm.
was a summer that I had to where we utilized those creative abilities to the max, and I was literally on tour all summer with them, being able to produce like awesome content and recaps and things of that nature. And I'll speak briefly to value exchange as well when it comes down to it, and the opportunities that you choose to take and the amount that you choose to be paid for it.
Abby,
But
give me
you're fine.
one.
You're fine.
You hear her,
Yeah,
right?
it's okay. She's a baby.
But yeah. So my bad. You were in the process of explaining.
How I found out what my value was, or I guess getting to that
Yeah, how
particular
did you
place.
figure out kind of when you realize, oh, I got something and this is valuable?
Got you. Got you. So how I figured out that I was building upon a valuable asset that I had myself, or that I was onto something, was when I started to get into community. One of the biggest frustrations I had was having an interest in something like videography or photography, but not having a community of people who could validate what you had or what you were working with. So there's one thing where you're just like, oh, hey, check out this video or check out this picture, and you're sending it to family and friends, just like, yeah, that's so great and cute, or I like it, but nobody can speak to the details of it. Nobody can speak to the storyline. Nobody can speak to, the f-stop or the aspect ratio or the background. And so that's what I was yearning, which is validation from people who actually knew or spoke the language that I was learning and could
Yeah.
help make me better. So it was in community that I was able to kind of be around people who were at least cognizant of what I was talking about, or at least getting there themselves, or were professionals in that right. So, getting a community, having opportunities within that community to kind of showcase my skills. And then once I saw that it was something that was highly sought after, one of the stories that I'll tell you was I was working alongside Deeper Than a Brand. I actually got to travel with them one summer and create content alongside them, which was a wonderful experience. And one of the pieces of content that I posted on my business page, that is, not even on my personal brand page, was seen by another person on the platform. And this person tracked me down. So, like on my personal page, I'm sorry, on my business page, I have my other details, the Abby Teaching Afar page and things like that. So they tracked me down back to the Abby Teaching Afar page, looked at my link in bio, scheduled a 15-minute consultation with me. And from that particular call, this person has now been my client going on a year and a half from content that I posted while I was still trying to validate myself. And it was from that community and another community that kind of talked a little bit more about micro content and how we can package things up. They made a decision. And I'm telling you, from the first time you actually get paid what you're asking for, things are never the same. So
Mm,
the way that I'm validated is when people actually be like, okay. And when the invoice gets fulfilled, or they don't, shrug or lift an eyebrow. And if anything, sometimes that helps me like, oh, that was too easy. But it's
mm.
in the validation when you have people who are seeking out your services, who want to work specifically with you, and they are not compromising your time or your compensation. It's super, like, it helps you know that, okay, great. I want to make sure that I have enough room to work with people like this, instead of people that's just like, do you have a discount, or can I pay half now, half later? So once you start, charging your worth. Once you start figuring out and now I'm not saying come out the gate and just go crazy with it. You actually need to be able to deliver and over deliver on your promises and what you tell people. But
Yeah.
yeah, after I started really getting some people who were interested in me at the rate that I was asking for, it helped tremendously.
Oh, that is amazing. So then, okay. So getting in a community that validates, right? So that then afterwards, if your community can validate it, then you can then attach value to it. It's
So
kind
let
of what
me
I'm hearing.
just preface that a little bit. So initially, I got into a course that would say I'm teaching this, and what I would find is when I got into those particular courses and applied to certain things, I was already aware of certain stuff. But there's self-paced course, and then there's courses that like have a community attached to it. It was very
Mm,
helpful for me to. I had the self-paced course already, or maybe they had like a Facebook group, but it was very helpful for me in the type of learner that I am. I needed somebody to talk back to me. So like we've been in mutual groups and things like that. It was important for somebody to be able to say Abby this or Abby that, or be able to answer my questions in real time. So that's what I
yeah.
was seeking. So I had been in courses where it's like, okay, maybe it's a self-paced course that you can follow online, and then you can maybe ask questions in the Facebook group. But I needed somebody to in real time to be able to do that. So that's what helped me, and those type of communities that they can see my work ethic and see how I respond, and things of that nature, helped on a different level. But now I was when I was trying to validate my creative abilities. You want to go sort it out? You good?
Uh, Give me 1 second. So
You got it.
there we go. You feel better? Yeah, you just wanted attention. You get all the attention you want. So you were saying that you wanted to clarify, and you said that you had
Mhm,
community, but the community was from the course that you entered,
mhm.
where you received education and community. And so you took the time to kind of clarify that. And I wanted to just get that back to you in case there was anything else you wanted to add to that.
Yeah. So what I'll say is one of the things that I came in the realization of just at the end of last year was I want to forewarn people, or at least make them knowledgeable, is that take your time to validate your skill set, product or service, whatever you have. But one of the things that I fell short on was I validated my creative ability to an extent where I was also not feeding into business. I did not learn how to run my, I'm learning how to run my business now. So I spent the first half of my entrepreneurial journey just trying to say, do people want videos or pictures or editing from me? Once I realized I can do that and I can do it well and people will purchase from me, then I needed to learn more about business. So I probably would couple the two so that you can run a business from the start, so you can get your pricing systems down and know, what you need to do for profit or taxes and things of that nature. But don't
Mm.
put too much time, don't spend so much time and money on validating what you have to offer and not becoming more conscious and building upon your business as well, because this is how you learn if you're cut out for business, if you need to join forces and collaborate with other people or be able to hire a certain task out that you're not necessarily very well versed in, but become knowledgeable about if you want to be an entrepreneur, especially in this creative space. Fine, validate if you can do it, get whatever you need from that, but then learn how to run your business, because that's how you're going to be able to sustain yourself and be able to charge accordingly.
I love that. So validate the business, but not going to the point where you're validating so much I like you said, validate the business instead of validating your skills. I
Yeah, you
like
can
that. And I
always, you
think,
can skill build at any point in time, but learning how to run a business from behind is almost a mistake, because a lot of people, honestly, if you get the business skills first, you can explore a ton of different things. You can always learn a new skill and validate it. You can hire people to do stuff. Like, I could hire a graphic designer right now if I know how to run my business properly. And you can utilize those business skills to be able to continue to build on what you would like to do, even if you're learning it at the same time. But not having that foundation in business and just validating your skills the whole time will kind of leave you behind and have you making some risky financial decisions.
mm, I feel that. I've been there. I've definitely been there. Figuring out the business part afterwards. It's like, I got a skill set. Let me just go for it. And yeah, definitely learned that one. So what's amazing is I'm hearing just so much lived experience from you in terms of the things that you've gleaned and the things that you've pursued. And I think one of the original questions I wanted to ask that I want to make sure I circle back to right now is, with moving out of the country, and I know that wasn't your intention to move out of the country and to start a business, a online and slash kind of brick mortar business, but for folk who might be interested in feeling like, you know what, I want to start a business, but I want to leave the country and start a business. I want to see the world and stuff. Do you have any advice maybe on the logistics of doing something like that? Kind of random, but yeah.
No, it's fine. So I can only really speak to the country that I live in, which is the United Arab Emirates. I know a lot of people have done different things to be a digital nomad, maybe move to Mexico, or I know somebody who is in, where are they? I can't remember, but people done things like in Bali or wherever they are. I would most definitely just look up the economic situation in that particular country to ensure that you can make a livable wage and that you can afford certain things before you get their health care, room, shelter, food, all that great stuff. And I had the opportunity, thankfully, to visit my place of residence before I actually moved here full time. But I also would highly recommend that Americans, especially, you know, we get out of the country. We don't know how we're treated as Americans until we leave. And there are a lot of times where we're treated a lot better outside of the United States than we are inside of the United States. So just giving
Hmm.
somebody the opportunity to do that, like from the grassroots, like if you're a college student and there's a study abroad opportunity, take it, do it. That's a way that you can go with your school and it's at a discounted rate. But any opportunity that you have, and even if it's not to go and stay, what I would really, really like for people to start doing is, if they have the opportunity, to stop taking trips. Trips for me is like 5 to 7 days, and like go on vacation. So that's that 12 to 14 type vibe. So you can really see what the atmosphere is like. So for the first like 4 or 5 days, if you're not traveling, you're just doing all the touristy and exciting stuff. Extending that trip to that 10 to 14 days, you kind of are over the touristy stuff and you really see how people are living. And that is a good way to evaluate if that's a place that you want to continue to look into for something like, 3 to 6 month stay. So I am all for people going and having lived experiences in different countries and being able to
Mm,
kind of just really make a decision on how they want to be treated and where they want to be.
I love that. So you said something interesting. So you said that a trip is 5 to 7, but a vacation is 12 to 14. I've never heard that before,
You know,
but I
you want
think
to
you
know where
make a
that came
great
from?
point. No, where?
I watched, I think it was How to Get Good with Money on Netflix. I believe it was one of those particular shows. And this family went on a mini retirement. And dare I say, I believe it was 5 months. They went to like a country, a place in South America for 5 months and didn't work. And it was a mini retirement. So that's where that concept came from in my head. I was like, man, so many times we're tripping all over the place, whether it's a weekend trip, 3, 4 days, or if you go out of the country. I don't know anybody within my wheelhouse that are pushing anything past 7, but I've seen other cultures, be able to go somewhere. They're going for 10, 14 days, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Even like my mother's British. I've had family members come and visit from England for 6 weeks. And I'm like,
Wow.
how? So that particular
Yeah.
concept of taking vacations and then also like extending it so you can be in the place and see what it feels like is something that I would love for more people to experience.
I love that. Okay. I got to keep that in mind then. Man, shoot. I'm up here I'm up here tripping thinking I'm vacationing and I ain't even vacationing.
Because
I'm just tripping.
you don't get a chance to relax because you're still planning logistics. We got to switch
Wow.
hotels. We got to go back home. We got to pack because we leave tomorrow. By the time you are trying to relax, it's time for you to leave again.
Wow. People, that's, I never heard that before, but that makes sense to me. People thinking they vacationing and they just tripping. In
That's it.
mini retirement. Wow. Okay, that is interesting. I love that because I can imagine doing a mini retirement and seeing and getting a taste for that. I think can speak volumes on either motivating you to keep doing what you're doing, or maybe even redirecting your path on like actually retirement isn't my thing. And there definitely are some folk who are like, I don't want to retire because I'm gonna just fall apart. And I guess I never thought, wow, I never thought of that before. Okay,
I'll have to find it and I'll send it to you. But when I saw that, I was just like, that's amazing because they were in a place where the wife at the time, she was making a lot of money. They had a lot of financial things is already in the works, and they was like, let's just give this a try, see what it's
wow,
like. And it was an amazing thing to be able to at least be made aware of. To be like, okay,
yeah.
people can literally just take a break off of life and be financially set to take 5 months off or 4 or 5 months off with their family, not work, and be fine.
That's a that is amazing. I never thought of that before. That shoot, that's changed some stuff in my mind right now. So then I found this like really interesting and just for all clarification, I really want to bring you back for a second interview because I have a whole other list of questions of just things I want to like get into the nitty gritty about. But I would love kind of if you could share something because we have an audience that's we have some that are older, some that are fresh out of college, some that are looking to get into the entrepreneurial space. So if you had the attention of those folk for like 5 minutes, what would you tell them?
Loaded question. But
Sorry.
honestly, one of the I'm a person that I need to know things. I don't like what ifs. That was one of the biggest inspiration for me doing a lot of the things that I do, including moving abroad. I didn't want to, this conversation would not have happened if I didn't go ahead and take a risk or step out on faith to be able to find out for myself what is actually going on. I heard a lot of people, oh, don't move to the Middle East. It's dangerous. It's this, it's that. And I just don't like not knowing whatever it is that I'm choosing to be interested in. So I would say if there is a what if in your spirit, go ahead and if it's something that aligns with your morals and values, of course, go and find out for yourself. Finding out for myself what it's like in the Middle East has led me to live here for almost 7 years and counting, because I don't plan on moving back anytime soon. So it is a much better and bigger testimony to be able to say, oh no, I live in the Middle East. It's awesome. Rather than somebody saying, I heard. I don't like what ifs and I don't like I heard. I like to be able to tell it myself. And so I have a lived experience to where I can tell you that I taught in education for 8 years. I can tell you that I left education to be able to pursue full-time content creation. I can tell you that I've considered going back to get a full-time job, but I'm still experiencing and betting on myself to see where I can take this, because I don't want to look back and say, what if I had did that? I want to look back and say, I did that and this happened.
That is so good. So the what ifs compared to the what I knows in my experience, I think is powerful. I would love to just real quick to just provide opportunity if you have any programs or any things that you have coming down the pike that you want to tell our audience about.
Sure. So, of course, you can follow me on all platforms at Abby Teaching Afar. I'm working on a couple of different programs, but I have one that's available now. It's called Clueless. It's a confident content creation that you can check out. Just help you get your bare bones with certain things that you're looking to if you are a person that has no idea what you're doing or where to start. And then you can follow me on social media. I give lots of different tips on how you can create or repurpose and utilize the stuff that you've already done to be more consistent instead of, the stress of not knowing what to post, but understanding that you're sitting on a wealth of knowledge already.
That's all good, and I think that is so powerful. So to our community that let me find the camera. So to our community that's listening to this or watching this on YouTube, you'll see all of that content and all of those different links in our description below. Abby is really a wealth of knowledge. That's why I reached out to Abby to bring her on so that y'all can have access to her. Please check out the things that she has going on. I'm constantly learning things and I'm seeing things on like Instagram from the experts, and I definitely forward it to her and be like, "Hey, did you see this?" And like just to kind of get her feedback like, "Yo, is this legit? Is this like a real tactic?" So by all means, please check out Abby. You heard Abby talk a lot about values and kind of understanding and figuring out who you are as a person. If that's something that interests you, please by all means drop in the comments below where you feel your values are. If you had to work on a particular value, or if you feel like there's something blocking you from reaching that next level of success or figuring out that business plan, I want you to drop in the comments below because we would love to work with you and help you. But in the meantime, y'all, I'm Desmond. Shout out to our guest Abby and teaching and breaking down everything that's going on with what you got going on in the UAE. And hey, we'll catch you in the next time. But till then, stay inspired. We'll see you later.
Oh,
Peace.
really quick.
Ooh, go ahead.
I have 31 tutorials on YouTube as well for content creation and content repurposing, completely free on YouTube. It's available right now. It's literally a playlist of 31 things that you can do with the content that you already possess. Y'all check that out and enjoy.
Oh, that is fire. I hope y'all are hearing all this like game and content she's giving y'all right now. So please check that out. That'll be in the description below. Check out the content. Get that business and everything together as you hear from me and you hear from my baby girl Joy. Shout out to Abby for being our guest, y'all. And we'll catch y'all in the next one. Stay inspired. Say peace, Joy. Say peace. All right. Peace, y'all.